2. All good. Good morning, welcome to Radio Maria Ireland. Thanks indeed for your company here. 11:15 now on time on this Tuesday morning, the 13th of July, for our Chatechesis moment here with you. Shout out and a wave to everybody watching on camera here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, of course, as well. Your opportunity to drop a comment, like, share, follow and subscribe too, just by way of helping us on our online presence. Now, good to have you with us today, and nice to be back at the microphone here live from our studio here, and very kindly joined this morning by John Carlin, our president. So good morning, John.
Good morning, Father. Good morning, everybody.
You're getting used to this cross-examination and interrogation every now and again?
Yeah. Interrogation.
That's right. So we're here just to share a few thoughts with you, if that's okay, during this Chatechesis, or just by way of letting you know the blessing and gift that Radio Maria is, to thank you sincerely for your very kind cooperation and fellowship with us and all of your mighty support, to share with you some of the lovely features in relation to growth, some of the thoughts and ideas that are in our minds at least, with the help of the Holy Spirit, by way of growing and building on the work we're doing, and also just to thank you and invite you to participate all the more in this great work and phenomenon and gift that is Radio Maria Ireland. So, John, we've kind of affectionately called this the sermon on the amount. And as an accountant, I don't know whether you do a lot of amounting. What does it all amount to in the end?
Okay, well,
I might just move that there, John. Chat away there. Just move around there.
As you say, every time there's two different ways of looking at this, and the first one, or maybe we'll get the boring one out of the way first. Right? We'll just talk about the financial end of things. Last month, June, from the if you want to sit down and take a look at the amount of money that's coming in, we actually brought in, believe it or not, close on €19,000 during the month of June, which is it's a huge amount of money, and I'd just like to thank all our listeners for that, because again, it's an indication that people are beginning to realise that this radio station belongs to them, and that it's also for us. It's also a great confirmation that people are actually, well, first and foremost, they like what they're hearing, and the second thing is that they trust us with their money. So it's a great response. It's a fantastic response, and it's again, it's reflective of the upward trajectory of Radio Maria Ireland, in the overall context of what's going on here. In saying that, we're still not in a position where we're actually clearing all our expenses on a monthly basis. Believe it or not, in June of this year, we paid out €35,000 in expenses. Which it's a lot of money, but at the same time, I'd just like to assure, as I do every month, just to reassure the listeners and everybody who is contributing, that every cent of that was required to be spent in the maintenance and the upkeep and the running of the station. We have, I think it's now, we've got maybe 12 or 13 staff here. We're functioning, like I was in here this morning, Father, you were here as well. I don't know, do you ever go home?
Occasionally, yeah.
Just occasionally, yeah.
It doesn't seem much of me.
But I was in here this morning at 8 o'clock, and we all know that Eamonn sends around, a daily, or Tara, whoever's here that day, would send around a daily sheet as to what is actually going on here throughout the day, and the live coverage of what's going on here. It's magnificent now, and it's increasing all the time. And what we're actually producing here. And I heard somebody speaking the other day about the number of podcasts and the technical end of things, all that type of stuff that needs to be looked after and cherished. Actually, it's a phenomenal project that we have here. So, and we've got the wages, we've got rent, we've got light and heat, telephone bills, all the normal expenses that someone would associate with a business. Although we're not a business, like we're a charity. So I would just like to reassure the listeners that there's not a cent wasted here. Everything that is spent here is required for the ongoing production of our daily output, on air.
And as an accountant, John, I mean, you've got lots of years of experience in dealing with businesses of all different shapes and sizes. I mean, in terms of the sort of outgoings and expenses, how does Radio Maria compare, let's say, at the business level?
No, well, at the business level, and let's say if this was a normal business, I would expect to see more expenses. Okay, because people treat themselves a little bit better than they normally would, or let's say people in a normal course of events. They can, like say, in a normal business, there'd be more travel, there'd be more entertainment, staff entertainment, client entertainment, that type of thing. And
there'd be a bit of trading and probably a markup to match all that then as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah, and that's and that's the normal cut and thrust of business. Whereas here, and I know we've said it before, we like to emanate, if anybody, and hopefully people will get in soon to visit us here. But what you'll see down in the kitchen downstairs is that this is our lady's kitchen, and she kept a pretty good house. We're advised, and we'd like to think that we do the same right throughout the whole organisation. So we keep it really tight here, and it's before any money is actually spent or any money is committed to being spent. It's analysed first to make sure is this totally and necessarily and exclusively for the purposes of what we are doing here. Do we need to spend this money? And when the answer is yes, well then that's when we spend it. If there's a grey area or if it's a no, we just don't spend it. So it's a pretty tight ship.
So we there's comparing it back to the essentials, and the essentials would be, like you say, the rent, the heat, the light, the Sairview, various licensing fees, maintaining the IT, the telephone would be an expensive one too.
Yeah.
But there's no frills, so there's
no frills. Well, we've got our other frills that we have. We've got, and this is the bit that I like to talk about, because this to me is the real sermon on the mount, or the amount of, we're talking here about Eamonn was good enough again to produce this leaflet for us.
Yes, yeah, it's a monthly update.
We're talking about
all our activity. All our activities. There.
And we're talking about the amount of, let's say that one of the headline figures here is the amount of listeners we have, which is much more exciting to me than the amount of money that's coming in. But the amount of listeners so far in 2021 were 87,705 listeners. Now, just to put a caveat on that as well, because that's the amount of people. That's the amount of people we know were interfacing with us. There could have been 2 or 3 people listening in the. Let's say if it's on an app or
the number of devices.
Yeah, it's the number of devices, exactly, and it doesn't include Sairview.
No, because we've no way of measuring.
We've no way of measuring Sairview, but we do know that given the feedback that we are getting here, the people who are calling in or writing in, or it's that a lot of people are actually listening on Sairview. So we think we could probably double that figure, So it's a huge, I know one of our ambitions here is to become like a digital parish, where people are actually listening, people who are at home who can't get out, or or for whatever reason, or or people who are at work or whatever, that they're able to tune into Radio Maria as their digital parish. I'm sure most people would actually prefer, let's say, to go to mass, in their parish in the mornings, but it's the next best thing, if I can put it to you that way. So
we're seeing that reflected in the more recent figures now, as the restrictions have eased and people are able to get out and about, and I'm glad to see it. That please God, many of our listeners who had been listening in regularly are now going back to their parishes and getting involved and out and about. So there has been a bit of a fall away in the last few months, but it's not something that's alarming or upsetting us or worrying us, I don't think, either, because the general trend has been on the up.
Yeah, there's 2 things in that. Obviously people are starting to go back to their own parish for mass, which is fantastic. But what I would say is that Radio Maria, we're just not about mass. Obviously mass is the most important part of the day. But we also, we have, and we said this during the lockdown, that more people were tuning in during prayer time, whether it's Mass, or Rosaries, the Divine Mercy, or the Divine Office, whatever it is. And I think what we'll see is we might see a bit of a fall off in people, and people who are returning to their own parishes, which is fantastic. But we'd like to think that they'll still tune in for the other prayer times throughout the day. And not only that, but whereas people are able to get out to Mass now, we're also able to get out in the parishes now as well. Like I know that we're coming up to in Omagh on the 25th of July, and Sarah just sent me a text this morning to say that we're going somewhere. I think it's in Uri in County Down. At the start of August as well. So I think what we're going to have to see now is that we're actually going to have to get out more, and are probably the best promoters that we have are actually the people who are actually listeners. So what I would ask as well, and it's great that listeners are prepared to actually put their hands in their pockets and ring up and say, okay lads, you're worth a few bob, whatever it is, every month, you're providing a great service here. But I'd also like to think that listeners would actually tell people who they know and who are close to them, who mightn't be able to get out, who mightn't be able to go to their own parish, or let's say who might want to join in the rosaries or in other prayers, and you've got the talk shows, and we've got a bit of music, and we've got Ceologos Crack as well, obviously. So we'd just like to if the people who are listening could actually tell their neighbours, tell their friends, tell their family as well, and in that way become promoters for Radio Maria also. And I think that once we're able to get out there, what we'll see is initially we might see a bit of a dip on people who are actually returning to their own parishes, but we'll see is that they'll be replaced by people who will become more aware of what's actually going on here in the station, because I'm convinced that we are still only our figures here are fantastic. It's definitely, I think Our Lady has blessed this project, but I think it's still, we're only scraping the surface, and we've said it before, what's the strategy here, where do we want to end up, what's the destination? And the destination is that Radio Maria, or Our Lady, through Radio Maria, becomes again part of the DNA of Irish society, and we know we have a lot of work to do in that.
And that's where really you, as listeners, John is saying there, become an integral part of the radio here. We're simply here to provide you with the service and to be a companion with you on your faith journey. But here we have a terrific instrument of evangelization and mission that all of us are part of. And I just hold up to the camera there our beautiful new program sheet there. It's really attractively done. In fairness to Sarah, she's done a lot of work with that there. And I was thinking, John, it might be a nice idea if these could be sort of dropped indoors. There's a lot of people, like if we go to a parish, we meet the good faithful people who come to the church. But when you were talking about your own neighbourhood there a while ago, how few there are from big long stretch of road here in Dublin actually come next or near a church.
Mm-hmm.
Could we somehow reach out to them and invite them to tune in?
Well, as a legionary, they're the people that we want to reach out to. Because otherwise we're just in our own little echo chamber,
the club,
in a little club,
and
that's not what it's about. What we have here is a hugely powerful tool, let's say, or gift for evangelization, and the more people that we're able to reach, and the more people we're able to reach out to. But I'm quite happy that the message here is a very loving message that I don't think anybody could take issue with it, although some people might. But that's their call. But the point that I'm making is that I'm quite confident that the message that is coming out from Radio Maria Ireland is a totally authentic Catholic message, and by that what I mean is it's totally charitable message. And I know that there are people out there who could do with this message in their lives. We meet them every day, and and we've often heard about people will be talking and they say that maybe one of the worst things about, let's say, the last 18 months has been the loneliness. And we get a lot of this coming back in our feedback text as well. Well, people are saying, thank you for being, for really holding their hand through what is, really difficult times. And we know that this will pass. This will pass. But there are other issues as well, in people's lives. There's disputes within families. There's illness. There's all the stuff that that we would have been dealing with anyway. And it's great that people would have someone who will that gentle, charitable, loving voice on the other end of their device or whatever it is, who will try and guide them and journey with them through those periods when things are really tough. And I think that's what's going on here.
I hope that Radio Maria could maybe be a little antidote to the negativity that's there, and maybe a way of just portraying a side of the church that's different from what the secular sources of information will feed us. And maybe I would hope too be a gentle instrument to re-enkindle a little bit of trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we've all been through a pretty horrible couple of decades with the scandals in the church and everything else that's been going on, a falling away in vocations, an increase in secularism, legalization of terrible immorality in our country, and it's an acceptance of sin, almost a glorification of sin. And we see it's heading down a path of complete self-destruction. We see it all around us. It's in the headlines. So my hope, one of them, is that idea that this Radio Maria is a real, a kind of a healing balm maybe for people's minds and hearts to say, look, we're still with you, we're still here, we're still journeying with you. Come back to the Lord and find healing.
I totally agree with you, but Father, that's what you're doing already. That's actually what is happening here. And if anybody, and again I say this every time I'm on, if anybody actually gets the opportunity to come and visit the radio station, as soon as you come through the front door, you actually get that spirit. That's the spirit that we have here, and one that we're actually quite protective of. But it's also one that we want to share with everybody. And that's why I'm saying the cards that Sarah has prepared here, they're fantastic prayer cards. So, to me, this would be fantastic Legion work. Let's say if there's people from the Legion of Mary who are listening in, who would be prepared to actually assist, in the distribution of these leaflets, it would be fantastic. It's
the program schedule, just to be clear, that we're speaking of there. It's beautifully produced.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and and that's what I'm saying. It could be fantastic that if people would actually join us, because this is like a big family. We want everybody involved. We want everybody who, as I said initially, we want everybody to feel a sense of ownership of what's going on here, and that that they're quite prepared, or they're happy, or some people are a bit I wouldn't say empowered, they're a bit slow maybe, or feel, I have nothing to contribute. You've got everything to contribute. The most important thing that you can contribute is your time, and that's the most important gift that you can give us at this particular point. So if there are people who would actually want to help in promoting the radio, you can the simplest way is to actually say it to one of your friends or your family, lads, maybe we should tune in for for Mass or for the Rosary or whatever it is, and maybe ask ring up and just ask for a few of these cards. Or I know that we've got loads of different literature that we could help, or people can help with in distributing, or even going to their parish and asking, can we put up a Radio Maria, a poster, just because there's loads of people in every single town and village, in the countryside, right throughout the country, who are feeling very lonely at this particular time. And there's always people who will always feel lonely, but we have that, as I said, we've got the ability to actually get past the front door, because all they need is a device where they can turn us on and listen. And they can turn us off as well if they don't like what they're hearing, but hopefully that won't happen. But to me this is a real good news story, and it's a fantastic gift, and it's one that we need to push on.
Sure. There's window stickers as well. If you haven't availed of those yet, I was in traffic the other day myself. It was nice to have a car in front of me with a Radio Maria sticker on, and I didn't actually recognise the car. So, if you see one, you think, I know who that is. But so if you'd like to have one of those for your car, again, a nice, simple, easy way of just getting the word out, and just the name Radio Maria into people's minds, that they might just consider tuning in or saying, well, what's this about? Maybe I'll just check this out. And we've found that time and again, the connection with the radio is sort of an evolving relationship, that people can check in, they listen in for one reason or another. Maybe someone they know is on the radio, or they like just a bit of music at lunchtime or something that we do. And then what would happen, a text would come in, maybe just either a reaction or maybe a prayer request, and with no name on it. And we'd always try and text back or write back to everybody as well, or email back as best we can. And then you might get another text back, and I always tell the girls to put their name on the text, to say, look, it's from Tara, it's from Mary Kate or whoever. And so you establish a little connection, and then a listener would text back and maybe give their first name, and then you're starting to build a little relationship there, and back and forth, and eventually it becomes a kind of a long-term thing. And it's just lovely to see how many of our long-term listeners have grown into the mission. So our visit to Mallow there a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking about this before, Kathy was there, Margaret Griffin turned up, and Pat Breen. They're all kind of regular voices on the radio. You know, Nicola Summers, who's relatively new from Mallow, she came along too. Who else was there? There was a few others that came along. But it was a real gathering of friends already, even though many hadn't sort of met each other. We were straight into it immediately and happy to speak to people about the blessing of Radio Maria.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really building that kind of interrelationship in faith beyond the parish boundaries in a sort of the radio context. And it means as soon as we meet each other, a bit like the Legion of Mary again, you're on the same page immediately. You're not alone.
It's great to know that there are people out there who have the same, the same system as yourself, or the same thought process, or it's because very often when you're, again, getting back to the whole thing of being on your own, you sometimes you get a bit dejected and you feel that there's nobody else like me out here, and very often too there's other people telling you that you've lost a run of yourself or you're mad. That's often an accusation that has been fired in my direction. But when there's people there who who have the same principles, like as yourself, it makes things a bit easier for you. And not only that, but here we're able to say to people, it's okay to be different. Like we're living in a society now where probably people of faith have probably moved in, like 50 years ago in this country. It was different, people in the faith probably had the ascendancy on the end of a mic or whatever it is. Now it's different, and but it's very important that there's people there who are able to say to their friends and to their family, no, look, listen, it's okay to be different, and it's okay to tell our children that, especially that it's okay to be different, because the world is telling them that all this other madness that you spoke about, that that's the way to go, and that progressive people think like this, and you're going, no, you're able to say to your children, no, that's not progressive, and if anything, that's totally regressive. Like you, so what you're doing is you're reaffirming in their own thinking, because a lot of these things everybody knows they're wrong anyway, but they're just afraid to speak out. Whereas here, what you're doing is you're giving people that support. If I can put it that way, you're giving them the support to be different and to think for themselves. It's very important that we encourage our young people as well, and all our people, to think for themselves. So they're not, they're not just sitting there and listening to a diatribe. That it's to think for themselves and think their way through. And it's great, here, because it's one of the things we spoke about initially about the charity. The God's law is very simple. Love God and love thy neighbour. And after that, okay, you have to sort of delve into it a bit, but everything here goes back to that. Where does this fit in with the overall commandment of love God and love thy neighbour? So everything that is happening in the world today, that's the benchmark. If I let's say that society's attitude, let's say now towards life, let's say, okay, how does that, when I compare that to the benchmark of God, love God and love thy neighbour, does it stand up to scrutiny? And obviously the answer is no. So that's where it's very important here, because one of the other things we do here is human formation. So we're teaching people how to think their way through these issues, and not just to take it as because somebody has come on and said this, or or somebody that they know has sent around a talk that would suggest that it's okay, let's say issues like abortion are okay, that they've got somewhere here where they can come and they can say, well, how does that stand up? And here we're obviously quite happy to stand up in faith and say, no, that's wrong. And that's why in these times it's very important for families, and again mostly for our younger people. I would love to hear more younger people on, and I know that it's happening, and obviously parents as well. But at least they've got somewhere where they can come back, and they can ask the questions, they can get direction, and that's the big thing, I think, is the spiritual direction that they're getting here, and what you refer to as human formation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So listen, if you want to participate in the conversation here, we might just take a little wee break and have a piece of music. But do get in touch with us. You might have some questions you might like to put to John maybe as well, or on the financial side of things, or certainly weigh in on the whole question of evangelization and formation too. and maybe share, if you'd like to, some of your own feedback as to the blessings Radio Maria is bringing into your life as well. So get in touch with us, 089 467 2000, 089 467 2000. If you're in the north or outside of the country, +353 89467 2000. Text and WhatsApp us here. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, by all means drop a comment here. And don't worry if it's to a repeat of this or a playback later. We still love to receive your reactions here. The telephone number to give a call, Mary, is on the phones today, 014 123456 +353 again 14123456. Very easy to remember. And do email info@radiomaria.ie. And finally, our address, St. Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22. So we'll be back after the break. We'll chat a little bit more indeed about the great blessings and gifts of Radio Maria, and again encouraging you as to how you might best take part with us here as well. Beautiful new CD, At the End of the Sky. I've got track number 8 lined up for us here. Andrew's looking after the mixing test, so we'll have listened to Even in the Darkness You Are Near. Just put the music on. Can't turn on the music for them. While they're watching, they can't hear the music. They can't hear the music while we're on the camera.
They can't hear the music?
No, unless I put the mic in here. It's the best we can get. Don't leave it. Shane hates when I do that.
Oh, sorry. But they can't hear us?
They can, yeah, on the camera.
Okay.
And not on the radio.
Oh, not on the radio?
No.
But if you're on Facebook, you can hear us?
Yeah, that's right, we're chatting away here, so.
Oh, right, okay.
It'd be very nice.
That's fine. Is that okay?
Oh, great, that's great. So that's it, just going to get in the sense of the thing over. I suppose it's good if we can be specific too, maybe. Give people a kind of a specific target or measure or something very concrete, maybe.
For money?
That, yeah, and like
mission.
The practical mission, the mission too, maybe.
That'd be a great job for the Legion.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like every house should have one of these put in the door, you know. You might thinking if somebody take on a parish, you know, and just literally do the whole parish kind of Legion idea. Pushing them to
I'll be going on. I go on Tuesday evening to do the Legion meeting with Mount Marion. There's only 3 or 4 of them, but what I do is try and get them to do Mount Marion with those. They need the parish priest permission as well. Because they're huge, like the South Dublin is huge, and it's under a lot of pressure. How many of those do we have?
We got 10,000 tons, so there's plenty there. We're going to put more down.
Okay, well I need to get a team. We need to get a team.
So might be less inclined to throw that in the bin, I don't know, but at least we'll get the name in there, you know.
And talking about Shane, we need to speak to him.
Sure. Lovely, thanks. Donna there, and the choir Foom Lee from Clarendon Street, Carmelite Church here in Dublin. Beautiful new CD at the end of the sky. Lady Eamonn Carlin, of course, coming up this week. So we're hoping Father Liam from Avila will come on and chat to us. They have lots of interesting things going on in the Carmelites. So one of typically many things, if you're a regular listener to Radio Maria Ireland, knowing that we love to share and bring the blessings of all these great charisms and gifts of the church to you through the radio. And as John was saying before the break, this is really intrinsic to our mission here by way of formation, both spiritual and human formation. And again, as if you're a long-term listener, you know well that we take a very gentle approach to these things. We're not getting any soapboxes or up on any pedestals or trying to make a point. There's no egos involved here. We're simply at the service of the church, in communion with the church in Ireland. And I dare say bringing support and moral uplift even to parish priests and priests who have been through the struggle as much as the rest of us. Trying to follow Paul Glennon there now this morning as well. I do hope we can interact a little bit more with Walkinstown Parish next door to us going forward. He's a great friend of ours, comes in for morning prayer here. So you're hearing these things. If you're, again, listening over any period of time, we're really building and just growing the relationship all the while. And it's good to see that our committed listeners from the list Aidan has given to us there are more or less holding their own. There'll always be ups and downs with graphs and things for the time of year, people on holidays and all these other things. But on the back of the sheet, John, all our social media is an interesting dimension of the work as well. You've got a lot of numbers printed out there. It's an interesting part of it. Yeah,
like this is something that's all new to me, to be honest with you, you know. But like to think that we're now being listened to in 109 countries, and one of them is actually Ethiopia. Because I I'm in contact with there was an Ethiopian Salesian priest over here a few years back, and I got to know him through Father Ross, God rest him, and I stay in contact with him on WhatsApp, and you know he's telling me about all the various struggles they have now in Ethiopia and Tigray. Like there's a war going on out there, and it's apparently it's pretty brutal, as all wars are. But he listens to your sermon every day, Father, on Facebook. And
hope I'm not called you any earache.
No, he looks forward to it actually. But it's amazing to think. You know, we think about Ethiopia and we see the desolation and all going out there, but at the same time, these guys are able to get a social media platform where they can actually listen in and they can stay in contact with us. So it's it's probably one of the one of the good things about social media, let's say. And there's lots of other great statistics here as well. About the Facebook, about the total reached 85,500 people reached on Facebook, which is
just with the videos.
Just with the video, which is an amazing statistic. That they've listened into maybe just under 20,000 minutes. So it's not as if they're going through it and they're going, oh, what are these guys talking about? And they listen for 2 or 3 seconds and they go, no, I'll go on and listen to a bit of music or something. They actually stay and listen. I suppose the underlying trend here is that we're getting real traction. And not only are we getting real traction, but we're getting real traction here in our own country, but we're also getting it in another 108 countries as well, which is a magnificent feat. And we're all able to do it from the comfort of our little studio here in Dublin 22. It's
and it's very much in keeping with the gospel. The Lord sending the 72 odd out of them in pairs. Lately we've been hearing those gospel passages, the Lord sending them out to the various towns and villages, and that grace accompanies the work, and that's something you just cannot put a price on, you can't put a value on. And that's something we've certainly been learning here, and I hope you're able to see it too, that whatever the financial needs are so on of the expenses to be met, that the grace goes far above and beyond all of that. And if even one soul can be touched, and we've had any number of beautiful text messages and emails and so on from listeners who've found tremendous consolation. And one lady, it's on the back of our thank you letter for this month, she said she wouldn't be alive if it weren't for Radio Maria. Now listen, it's worth all the work and toil, sweat, blood and tears and finance and everything that goes with it, just for that alone.
No, I totally agree with you. And as I say, to me, we don't keep a statistic as in the number of messages we're getting back, but it's pretty. There's a lot of people contacting us every single day with similar sentiments. You know, that they like we've been able to, or we've, you know, as a team here, we've been able to help them through various situations in their lives, or like we're just that gentle, friendly voice, you know, on the end of whatever device that they're listening on at home. So it's great to get that feedback, and it makes, as you say, it makes it all worthwhile. You know, so long may it continue, and there's no reason why it shouldn't.
Sure, and it's I mean, it's coming on Facebook as well. Just a shout out to Maria de Lourdes, she's listening in there. Vincent Hayes is watching too. Well done to everyone involved. He says, Mary Kelly says, great chat this morning, so thanks for that, Mary, as well. So you never know who'll be watching. Be very.
I'm actually now. I'm going to make a confession. I'm not even on Facebook. Like I avoid social media. I just, you know, like it's just something, and it's not that I have any issues, or it's just that I just don't have the time. You know, like, and it's, I suppose, if like, let's say if I needed to join on a social platform, it could be for this. It wouldn't be for any, you know, anything else. It would be for this. So it's great to see that there's like-minded people out there. 85,500 of them, and you know, with the help of God, this time next year we'll be sitting, and this is where we want to go. You know, it's not just about where we're at; it's where we want to go from here. And hopefully, maybe next time this year it'll be 185,000. Who knows? But it won't be for the want of trying. I can assure all the people that it won't be for the want of trying. We have fairly serious, you know, plans about actually getting out there, and you know. But all we can really do is, you know, above and beyond what we're doing, is let people know that we're here. You know, like it's, you know, like once people tune in, we're quite, you know, we've said this already, we're quite happy that what they're going to listen to and what they're hearing, you know, will actually, it'll draw them back. You know, the what they're hearing here is the truth. It's, you know, what they're hearing here is true Catholic charity. It's an authentic message, and I think that's what a lot of people are actually missing in their lives today. And people, by the way, people know that. You know, a lot of people know. You know, the people are out there searching for, you know, an alternative to what, you know, what they're being fed every day. Let's say. So I'm quite happy that, you know, our job now is, you know, we've the editorial side of it, as in what's been produced here, is nothing short of brilliant, in my humble opinion. That's probably because I'm not involved in it. But the administration, we're on top of that. What we need to do now is we need to get out there and promote. And again, you know, like it's great to see, you know, like the likes of that lady who gave us those kind sentiments. If she'd share that with, you know, people that she knows as well, she's probably already doing it. But if she could share that, and if everybody who's listening could share that, you know, like it's you know, if one person who's listening can bring back another person, we've just doubled our listenership. And that's, you know, like that's the mentality we have here. We need to get it out now. It's you know, it's a secret. You know, there's the secret of Our Lady that we need to tell everybody. And it's, you know, and the good news is that you will only be bringing, you know, joy into people's lives when you do that. You know, there's no downside to promoting Radio Maria, because you're promoting Our Lady.
Exactly. What I would maybe admonish to and encourage is that, you know, not to overthink it. You know, I think there might be a sense sometimes that, you know, that's somebody else's role or somebody else's job, or it's first. And anybody who comes to the building here usually gets put in front of a microphone or gets something, or kind of engaged into the mission and I learned that myself from a very young age. The Legion of Mary course taught me. But I remember well, once there was one occasion, we used to, as our Legion work, go to Speaker's Corner in London every first Sunday it was, and the priest would bring a bunch of us young legionaries. We were only kids at the time, really. And Speaker's Corner is a pretty intimidating place to get up and start selling your wares. But this is just praying the rosary. So he brought a little stepladder along, a little fold-out stepladder. And I just remember the first time he said, you know, Eamonn, get up there and lead the rosary. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, that's the last thing I thought I'd ever be doing. And literally my knees were knocking as I was there, because there was hecklers and there was all kinds of... But, you know, it's one of those things that sometimes people just need a small little push, you know. Don't be leaving it to somebody else to figure. Now, we're not saying you need to get up on a pedestal and have your knees knocking, but to participate in some shape, size, manner or form. Don't be passive. You know, be in some way active. And the beauty that we learn, you know, the minute you begin to on that path of being active, the Lord will stretch you. He'll bring you to a place that you never thought you had a microphone on a radio station. It's one of those things.
It's one of those things. It's I know it's like we've all had that experience. Like I never thought I'd end up on a microphone asking people to be more active in their faith. I can assure you. That was a bit of a long journey, but anyway, you can take the scenic route as well. But it's the point here is that with my accountancy hat on, it's the value of what you're doing. When you introduce Our Lady into somebody's life, I can assure you they will be forever grateful to you, and I mean forever grateful to you. So don't be afraid. As you say, what we lack in ourselves, our Lord will make up for it. Or if we ask Our Lady's help, when we're doing that, we'll get it. And it's never fallen short. Certainly, some people may try and mock you, but they mocked our Lord Himself. So it's just turn it all around for the good. And I suppose the big thing is we don't expect immediate. It's great to get them, but we don't expect immediate miracles. But what we're actually doing is we're sowing seeds. And we may never be around to reap those seeds, but we're sowing the seeds, and that's really our job. We go out and sow as many seeds as we can, and let somebody else be around to reap them sometime, hopefully in the future.
Amen. And the beauty too is that we're one of 85 radio stations around the world, and so Our Lady is really taking things in hand herself. We can see it. Father Sam was on the phone a little earlier. He's the priest director in Radio Maria England. He's packing his bags, head off to Australia. Apparently he's from Australia. I thought it was New Zealand he was from. But he's going to help them just get started. They've got two volunteers, the president that you met and another. they're just starting from -1 at the moment. But
they'll get there.
Yeah.
They'll get there. It's like all the rest. Like it's Radio Maria in Ireland took a while to get up and running as well. And people have got to remember, as you're starting from a start. It's easier for us now because we have already got traction. People are already aware. People who are into their faith are already aware that Radio Maria exists. And I suppose the next stage of our development now is to make sure that people who aren't aware, or people who aren't really into their faith, become aware that Radio Maria exists. And we're a voice for them. And all the people who are listening are all joining us all, to pray for all of them. That's that's where the engine is. The more people that we've got praying, the better.
So our time is winding down, as it does very quickly here. We're very grateful to you, and thank you again, really, from the bottom of our hearts here, to all who support us in prayer and promotion, and your financial offerings as well. It's all voluntary, if you like. It's all freely given, and the measure of return in the order of grace is of a magnitude beyond our capacity even to express. We see it ourselves, so we're immensely grateful, and thank you to John for all you're doing for us as always.
I'm just delighted.
It's a privilege to be involved. I mentioned that often.
Of course it is. Yeah. It's a privilege. This isn't work. This is a real privilege to be involved in something like this. It's also a surprise for me, but anyway.
This is it.
Anyway.
He qualifies the call, does it? Rather than calling the qualified. That's the way it works. So listen, do please click on our support link there on the website if you would like to make an offering, or certainly make a regular offering. Go to your bank and get the IBAN number there and set things up with us. That would be a great help. There's lots of resources on our podcast page, as John was saying, for you to fall back on. If you would like some literature, we can send you out the beautiful program sheet there, a little bundle to give to your neighbours and friends as well. Lots of ways of interacting. And do, of course, keep it switched on here, pray with us and share with us and journey with us. So thanks again, John. God bless you.
And just thanks to all our listeners and people who are supporting us here. It's fantastic, and it just makes my job a bit easier as well.
We look forward to meeting you out in your parish in time too.
Absolutely.
Very good. Just 12 o'clock now, time for Angelus and midday prayer.